Welcome to Ask Aron, where I provide you answers for the questions that you ask me. This week, we'll be exploring some definitions, answering some opinion questions, and covering who would win in battles to the death. Question number 1, is water wet? Water in itself is not wet, because as a liquid it makes other things wet, therefore it can't be wet. Question number 2, is cereal soup? That's debatable. Some definitions of soup require it to have meat or vegetables, and others make mention of a broth. The kicker for cereal, though, is that whether you have milk or not, it's still going to be cereal. But if you remove the broth from soup, you have a completely different food. Even if the milk changes depending on the cereal you put in, and the cereal softens because of the milk, you can't take the broth out of chicken noodle soup and still call it soup. At that point, it's just chicken and noodles. Pasta, even. The heat argument doesn't matter either, because anyone can eat cold soup or warm cereal. I believe the answer to this question lies in the technicalities, not the definitions. Question number 3. Pirates, cool swashbucklers, or jerks of the sea? I think the answer to this one fully depends on your perspective. Are you a pirate? Then you probably think you're pretty cool. If you're a member of the British Navy getting your ship blown to bits by a full broadside of cannonballs, you probably think pirates are jerks. As an onlooker, it's a question of morality. If you can support raiding, thieving, and poor hygiene, you probably think pirates are pretty alright. If you hate anybody who takes what they want instead of earning it fairly, you wouldn't like them. Personally, I kind of like them. Pirates could be civil if they weren't hitting you with their swords, and I'm sure not all of them were ruthless. Many of them were just looking to make some money under a captain who would reward their loyalty. I wouldn't think they're jerks. Not all of them, at least. Question number 4. What is the definition of a sandwich? According to my hometown reference, the Webster Dictionary, a sandwich can be one of two things. 1. 2 or more slices of bread or a split roll having a filling in between. And 2, in the event of an open-faced sandwich, 1 slice of bread covered with food. Question number 5. How do you make a cake look like a realistic object? Once you bake your cake and do whatever it is you want to do to the inside of it, you can shape it using a knife and cover it in an icing that will be thin enough to not make a mess, but malleable enough to be able to be manipulated. Fondant works, for example. Then, you can use modeling tools to shape and sculpt the icing over your cake and solidify the details. There are many shades of food coloring that you can use to paint your icing. For details that you don't want to sculpt with icing, there are edible shaped products out there for you to use. Ultimately, it all comes down to your creativity and how accurately you can mimic an object using only cake materials. Question number 6. Are muffins mini cakes? Muffins are classified as quick bread, which essentially uses components that make it rise quickly, such as chemicals, as opposed to slow-rising ingredients like yeast. That being said, it definitely feels different than just eating bread. It's sort of like an in-between. The reason it isn't explicitly cake is because a cupcake is basically what happens when you make cake in muffin tins. Therefore, they've got to be separate. Question number 7. Who would win in a fight between a caveman and an astronaut? The astronaut has no weapons. While a caveman has more primal instincts and is probably way stronger thanks to the kind of life they had to live compared to what humans put up with now, an astronaut will be way smarter than a caveman. Astronauts go through survival training, medical training, communications training. They need to have perfect vision, and a good portion of them have a background in the military. Who wins at that point? The smarter and better trained astronaut, or the stronger and stockier caveman who's gone through a grueling life fighting off whatever nature throws at it, and is allowed to have a weapon? If the astronaut can disarm the caveman, it's game over. That ooga booga numbskull is going to get taken out. If the astronaut can't get a hit in and the caveman physically dominates the fight, the astronaut probably won't win. My bets are on the astronaut. Question number 8. How many geese can Miles fight before getting overwhelmed? Miles, my roommate, is likely able to take on at least 3 geese. He can have a gooseneck in each hand and kick the other, but once his hands are taken up and the geese start to multiply, he's done for. He claims that he can use the geese as weapons, but he can't cover a full 360-degree range at all times. Plus, geese can fly, and if his eyes are on the sky, then his legs are wide open. With goose hammers in both hands, I'll give him up to 5 geese before they start to outsmart him and use their wings. Question number 9. I always stay up playing video games till 5 a.m. or even pull an all-nighter. How do I get a better sleep schedule? Out of experience, the way I beat my ruined sleep schedule is to capitalize on that all-nighter. Stay up until morning, but don't go to sleep when the morning comes. Try to make it through your day. Drink some coffee, have an energy drink, exercise, whatever lets you stay up. If you have work, go to it, and make yourself busy. If you don't have anything going on that day, just occupy yourself. Once 7 o'clock comes and the sun goes down, have something to eat and crash. You'll be up by noon the next day. At that point, now that you've had your crash, just have some more discipline and don't stay up as late. The more you occupy yourself during the day, the more tired you'll be at night. If you want to stay up late playing games, set yourself a cutoff time and stick to it. Question number 10. Should vegans be able to drink breast milk? Veganism seeks to prevent exploitation of animals for the benefit of humans. It goes against killing animals for food or other materials and keeping animals captive, among other things. One of the main parts of modern veganism is not consuming foods that originate from animals. No meat, no eggs, no milk. That last one is seen by vegans as taking milk from a calf against the will of the mother cow. It's not a choice of the cow and is therefore exploiting it. In the case of human milk, however, I'd argue that vegans should be able to drink breast milk on the basis that a mother produces milk to feed their baby, and therefore it's not exploitative of a baby to feed from their mother. It's natural, and more importantly, it isn't ethically questionable. It won't violate the tenets of veganism, and it's okay for them to do it. And so, we reach the end of this week's episode of Ask Aron. Join me next week, where we take a look at some factuals, some opinion questions, and we will answer the age-old question of which is better, Star Wars or Star Trek. Be sure to use the link in the description of my channel and my video to ask me any question you would like to see me answer. Thank you for joining me.